From architecture to painting and sculpture, literature to live music and theater. Radio 111 presents Bonnie G and Brayan Mendoza with The Desert Scene, your connection to culture and entertainment in the desert cities. Here's Bonnie and Brayan.
And welcome to The Desert Scene. I'm here with my co-host, Brayan Mendoza, who wears many hats, runs the board, does all kinds of great things. And we are really pleased to welcome to our show today Samantha Parrish, someone I met years and years ago when she had a Voicetrax, a voiceover training facility here in the desert. And I think she might be coming back here. I'm going to ask about that. Hi, Samantha. How are you?
Hi, Bonnie. Oh, my gosh. It's so nice to hear your voice, and it just brings me back, God, I don't know, like probably about 15 years ago or something?
Something like that. It's been a while. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, welcome. And I know you are just going like gangbusters out in the San Francisco area. So now are you coming back here? Or are you opening any facility here? Or is that an illusion in my head?
Well, no. It's kind of interesting because I moved back to the desert right before the pandemic hit. And I was, but I mean, I still have my school, Voicetrax San Francisco is in its 34th year now. And so I was kind of contemplating, with technology being what it is, what I had dreamt of being able to do 15 years ago, I think I was just a little too ahead of my time with, not just with classes being online, but just in general with people not necessarily having to be in a studio to record, but being able to record at home. That was in such an infancy kind of place 15 years ago.
Right.
So when I moved back here right before the pandemic, I was thinking, I probably could now officially open a school here as well and be able to make going back and forth easier on me, more successful, etc. And then, like I said, boom, the pandemic. So we immediately turned everything online and have been able to really widen who we teach, because we now do teach people from all over the country. We even are teaching people in such faraway places as Poland and Germany and England and so and the classes have been going so well. It's so successful on Zoom. And so to answer your question, now I also have about 10 active students from the desert right now, but I don't find the necessity to actually open up a brick and mortar place, because all auditioning anyway, even before the pandemic, is now done from home.
Yeah.
And there are so many voiceover opportunities now with all of these different online, what we call pay-to-play casting sites. And so it's gotten to the point, once you're properly trained and you have a home setup, my goodness, you don't even need an agent anymore to work.
Yeah.
I have many students now that are earning a very nice side living, like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year, just being on casting sites like Voice 123, and they don't have an agent or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so yes, I definitely am reaching out to the desert again and want, the desert population to know I'm back, but I'm back in this more modern way of teaching online, not just, teaching students the art of voiceover and developing them into voice actors, but also really focusing a lot on teaching people how to direct themselves.
Right.
Because that is what has become key. That's what separates the men from the boys. You can be absolutely marvelous at voice acting as long as somebody is directing you.
Right.
But that and $2 is not going to buy you a latte anymore. You have to be able to learn how to direct yourself.
Yes. Well, I didn't know you were living back in the desert. That's great. We'll have to get together. That's fabulous.
Yes.
What made you decide?
The thing is that I got here and we were working on our house and then boom, we all had to stay frozen in our houses.
Yeah. What made you decide to come back here?
I love it here.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful.
I love it here.
Yeah.
mean, I think I'm a real Gemini. I still have my business up there. I do go back and forth in my mind, Northern California and the desert. They're like completely different vibes. Mm-hmm. And I love them. I love them both. But I'm just really drawn to this mountain here, and the low key vibe, and it's a pretty special place.
Absolutely. So let's go back. To where you started. So as a kid, were you involved in acting as a kid, or doing voices, or how did you end up? What was your career path to kind of get where you are?
Well, I started studying voiceover when I was 15, and by the time I was 17, I was already beginning to work doing both on-camera commercials and voiceover pretty consistently. I thought I wanted to have a career as, an on-camera actor, doing film and television, and I dabbled in it, but it was so funny. Every time I got cast in something, it was like in my mind I thought, I want to be this famous on-camera actor. But every time I got on the set, I actually felt like such a fish out of water. And yet every time I got behind the microphone, I just adored it.
Yeah.
And so, I went on to do, literally, crazy, thousands of commercials. And I had several hit animated series that I was on. One of my bigger ones was Gem and the Holograms. And so I was doing really quite well, but it was funny, I loved what I did for a living, but I didn't like living in L.A. And L.A. is nothing like the desert.
No.
They're completely different animals, too.
Yeah.
And ever since I was a little girl, I had always wanted to live by the Golden Gate Bridge. I was really drawn to San Francisco. So when I was in my late 20s, I was fortunate enough to have, success and some money behind me. So I moved up there, and I thought I would do voiceover up there, and I didn't really know. And I thought back then, the fax machine had been invented.
Yes, yeah.
So I thought my agents were faxing the auditions, and I was actually recording them from home, and having to FedEx a cassette.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really dating myself.
Yeah.
For auditions. So I was going back and forth, and then I just started. I also, out of the blue, somebody called me and said, I understand you teach. And I didn't. And, but I just, in that split second, said,
yes, I do.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And so one student grew into two grew into four, and the next thing I knew, I had, a few hundred students, and the school just really started to blossom, and it ultimately became the largest voiceover academy of its kind in the United States. And I really, I love teaching. And then when I turned about 50 years old, I'm 61 now, so I've been doing all of this for 45 years. I really turned my attention then 100% to the school. I decided to, quote unquote, retire from doing my own voiceover work. And I am just, I guess I just feel like, I had done it for so long, and I just became even more passionate than ever about having more time to truly mentor my students. I mean, I've always been a mentor, but I take it to a much, much further degree now. I really believe that for people to succeed, you've got to have somebody in your corner cheering you on and always there for you to, it's just for me to always be an ear and for me to always guide. And, there's a lot of people doing voiceover, but, producers of all kinds are always looking for fresh talent. And as I always say, and as I still work some, but I'm just not actively in the trenches auditioning every day. As my agent always says, Jeff Danis of DPN, he says, it's very easy to get work. It's not so easy to stay on top and consistently year after year get work.
Yeah.
Because producers are always looking for new
stuff.
people.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean. This is why my mentoring has become so important, and it's why I provide really special opportunities for working voice actors as well, to kind of keep them on top of their game, and etc.
My co-host Brayan has a question for you.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, since you were talking about how like producers were looking for new talent, there has been a growing concern among some voice acting spaces that I've been in, where there has been this concern that Hollywood is preferring A-list live action actors over voice actors in over unknown voice actors in movies, because recently there was movies like Space Jam 2, which had Zendaya instead of Kaz Sochi as Lola, or in the case of like the new Super Mario Bros. Movie that they're deciding to have Chris Pratt play Mario instead of the original voice actor. So I wanted to get your feel for that. Do you feel like the industry is abandoning voice actors for these A-listers, or how do you feel about that? Like, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I don't think Hollywood is quote unquote abandoning. I mean, first of all, what you're describing, it's been going on for years. Celebrities, they get big commercial endorsements, and they've been doing animation for years. And yes, us working stiff voice actors, it's rare that you're going to star in a big animated film. It's like you're going to have to accept the supporting roles. I mean, that's just the way it is, but that's the way it's been for 15, 20 years.
Oh yeah, certainly. And
there is so much work out there that it's not an animated film, but I mean, my goodness, my 4 employees at Voicetrax, they're working voice actors, working stiff voice actors, and on average, they have anywhere from 10 to 20 auditions a day.
Wow.
A day in video games, commercials, so many different forms of narration. There's audiobooks, there's talking toys, there's corporate tutorials, audio tours.
Series.
I mean, there's so much work out there.
Yeah.
And what you're mentioning, of course, is the uber top of the mountain voiceover work. But I mean, I have hundreds of students that make six figures a year doing voiceover.
That's fabulous.
You don't need to do
a
those.
big
it
animated
would be nice.
film. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Samantha, if somebody listening was interested in finding out about voiceovers and training, how would they contact you?
It's very easy. All you have to do is, first of all, you can Google Samantha Paris, or you can Google Voicetrax SF, and go to the website. We definitely encourage people. I definitely encourage people to check out the website. We've got a lot of fun information, great interviews. You can really get a sense of what the school is about. We've got various teachers giving teacher tips on the websites, great videos to look at. So spend some time with the website, but most importantly, call us. I'm still very old-fashioned, very hands-on. Anybody that calls up, everybody is different. Everybody has different needs. Everybody has different backgrounds. That's why, except for the real basic beginning level classes, we still don't let anybody sign up for classes online. Every single student that's in a class, I've designed the classes. I've approved that they be in these classes. We make sure that everyone that's in the class, that's the class they really need to be in.
Right.
And that goes back to the mentoring. So we're incredibly hands-on. We want to get to know you. We want to know what your dreams are, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. So we really encourage people to call.
So what number would they call?
Well, they can call the, gosh, I'm so bad. They can call the the 415 number, which is 415-331-8800.
Okay.
But I'm just drawing a blank right now. I forget. We have an 800 number.
Okay.
So
I think I have it right here. 866-906-2863. Is that correct?
That's it. I can never remember that number. Oh.
Brian, say it one more time.
Okay, so again, it's 866-906-2863.
Okay.
There's also an email, Voicetrax, with instead of CK,
It's X.
X at voiceover-training.com. And I wanted to ask you just a quick fun question. What are some of your favorite voice actors of all time? Just real quick.
That is just really, really, really hard. I mean,
June Foray.
you know, I'm really. I have to be honest with you. I'm really partial to my colleagues. You know, people like Townsend Coleman and Rob Paulson and Peter Coyote.
Oh, he's fabulous.
And Nancy,
yeah.
and Nancy Cartwright. I mean,
Those
all
are
of
all
these people.
fabulous.
Yeah.
They all teach for me. And I admire them so much for different reasons, and I mean I could just go on and on. I mean, and then there's some people that you know nobody would know that I know.
Right,
I mean,
right.
You know, Ed Grover, who was the voice of Visa for years, was just so moving and stirring.
Is Chuck still with you?
Yes, he is.
I love Chuck. I used to work with him at K-News Radio years and years ago. Oh,
and
my
I
gosh.
told him I was doing this interview, and he said to say hi. I mean, yeah, we've been together now like 18 years.
Yeah.
He started as a student,
Yeah.
and he has been working by my side, you know, for whatever it is now, 15 years.
Tell him I said hi too. Well, Samantha Parrish, so great to talk to you. We definitely have to get together now that you're in the desert. And so
Okay.
again, if you're interested in voiceover training, there's the 866-906-2863 number or Voicetrax at voiceover.training.com. Thank you so much for being here, and congratulations on all your success. It's fabulous.
Thank you so much.